Hello and welcome to this webinar from KAM Media and Propel in partnership with Zonal. Today, I'm going to be taking you through our brand new research report from Plan to Plate, which follows the hospitality customer journey in a post-pandemic world. My name is Katy Moses. I am MD and founder of KAM Media. KAM Media are a specialist boutique research agency focusing on the worlds of grocery retail and hospitality retail. Myself and my colleague, Blake Gladman, who's our Insight and Strategy Director, will be taking you through some hot off the press insight and the results of speaking to over 1,000 UK adults, a nationally representative sample, aged 18 plus, who typically visit pubs, bars and restaurants. The aim for this particular project is to help support hospitality operators as we reopen post-pandemic, and we're really proud to be working on this in partnership with Zonal, who have made this possible. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to take you on a journey. We are going to take you through the customer journey, which is a model that shows how customers start, complete, and then continue with a hospitality journey. We're going to look at what influences the decision to go out in the first place. We're going to look at how the consumer finds a venue, how they make a reservation, how they'd like to make a reservation. We're then going to look at being seated, how important that is to them. We're going to look at how they decide on what to have to eat and what to have to drink. We're going to look at what they value in service in a venue. And we're going to look at paying the bill and how that affects the long-term view on that hospitality outlet from the consumer. We're going to look at post-purchase, and that's leaving a review, the ongoing engagement that they want to have with the hospitality operator, and of course the decision whether or not to return. So without further ado, may I please welcome Blake Gladman, who is our Strategy and Insights Director, and he will be taking you through the first two sections of this all-important customer journey.
Thank you, Katy. So I will now take you through a couple of sections of the report, starting with influences. So this is the section where we look at that critical element, critical stage in the process where we make the decision to either go out or stay in. And there's obviously a lot of factors at play within that. So first things first, why do we go out in the first place? So we looked at the top things that people like most about going to pubs, bars and restaurants. And no surprise really to see that socializing with friends and family is the number one factor. Closely followed actually by good food, and with recent the last 12 months that we've had, being out of the house as well obviously is quite an important thing. But I think the key kind of element that kind of comes through here is around the uniqueness of visiting hospitality versus obviously being at home. We've obviously seen in the last 12 months people really spending a lot of time at home, but also understanding how to better spend time at home in terms of entertainment and socializing online, etc. But these are the sort of things that I guess we've missed the most, and the things that we like the most about being out. And it's really about that atmosphere and that unique element that hospitality really provides. Certainly food and socializing are really high up in that. But clearly, as I mentioned, in the last 12 months, we've really got more used to being at home and spending time at home. And we asked UK consumers, what was it that they actually liked about being at home instead of going out? So those nights in, it's about that more relaxed environment. We've really enjoyed cooking our own food, experimenting with food. One of the things certainly around eating and drinking at home is that you can maybe, up the spend on ingredients and on drinks to get a better quality of product than perhaps you would for the equivalent price when going out. And people have been experimenting, trying new things, trying cook at home kits, etc. And also, socializing with friends online, playing games, board games have really made a comeback. So lots of things that people have kind of got into over the last 12 months when they've been staying in. And I think the key here is really to try and understand some of those key factors that consumers really like about staying at home, and trying to replicate and trying to bring some of those elements back into hospitality. So we've also seen spend on in-home entertainment increase. We've seen high increases across TV subscription services, video and online gaming, and video call subscriptions. We've all been had those Zoom parties. They're now invested in spending more money on TV and other subscription services for in-home entertainment. So again, just to be aware that some of this discretionary spend that people have is actually being now spent at home, and they've either got to spend more again now going out, or start to cancel some of these services. So we're not just competing with other bars and restaurants, we're competing with the spend that they're now increasing with that in-home entertainment. But one sort of positive that really in terms of the industry that's come out of the last 12 months has been the hospitality at home. So 2 in 3 consumers have heard of cook at home meal kits, and 16% have tried one, and 25% would try in the future. So I think that really shows that the popularity certainly in terms of awareness, and in terms of usage and future usage of hospitality at home kits. And certainly I think in terms of going forward, it's something that we should look to continue. Clearly it was a way to offset the lack of sales through venues, but personally we believe that the value in these at-home kits is something that can extend beyond lockdown and be a way for venues to straddle that at-home and out-of-home occasion. So as I mentioned earlier, that kind of real dilemma around going out versus staying in, when we're at that point of about to go out, or we think we're going to go out and meet some friends tonight, what are the sort of things that make us stay at home? A lot of it around sort of hassle. So it's, I'm struggling to get a reservation. It's a hassle to get to the venue. Again, it's sort of frustrations and touch points that some of them we can't influence necessarily as operators, the weather, for example. And on the flip side, what makes us go out instead of staying in? So again, there's that element where some people don't make these decisions until kind of last minute, and how can we just push, and how can we just kind of pull that consumer in with prompts, offers, and so through the use of sort of digital marketing as well. How can we really kind of try and drive that consumer to make that last minute decision to venture out to hospitality? So it's just a sort of short summary really of that kind of influence section that we obviously go into much more detail in the final report. But some of the kind of key kind of takeouts really in terms of, as an industry, we need to look at the things that consumers have liked about being at home. We've certain things we've enjoyed, cooking our own food, the more relaxed environment. How can we try and just tease some of these types of elements into our venues and try and replicate that in our venues? But whilst also accentuating and dialing up the factors that make hospitality unique. We've seen that atmosphere and that kind of social environment is the real key thing that people have missed. We really need to make sure that, although obviously at the moment it's quite tricky with all the social distancing and etc. going on, we can't lose sight of that real critical factor that makes hospitality unique, and really that we've struggled to replicate at home. I've already mentioned obviously those at home experiences, and this really is the perfect opportunity to create an offer that works across all occasions. So as you can see, that dilemma that people have around whether they're going to stay out or go in, having an offer that straddles both of those decisions, no matter what the decision is from the consumer, I think is really key. And finally, being fast and flexible. I said that kind of at home versus out decision quite often is made last minute, and we need to be ready and able to influence that decision. And certainly this is where digital and technology can really come into ensuring that we are there at the moment that people are kind of hovering and wavering over that decision, and being able to kind of influence them instantly. So coming on to the second section now, in terms of this is evaluate. So essentially this is where we've made the decision to go out, but now where do we go? So clearly there's lots of choices for us, and lots of decisions that need to be made. So as you can see, kind of we've grouped them up into kind of 3 key elements of what people do. So you've got search. So this is where you general internet searching. Also, quite a high proportion of people use the near me search. So this is, again, quite basic stuff, but if a business, if you're not on Google Business and you don't come up in that near me search, you're really missing out on huge proportion of people who are using that facility to search for restaurants, pubs, bars in their area. And as you can see, that rises to as much as 40% with 25 to 34-year-olds. We also see small usage of voice search, but we certainly expect this to be growing certainly over the next couple of years. In terms of the other bucket is around reviews. So this is recommendations from friends and family, review websites such as TripAdvisor, and kind of more traditional reviews in newspapers and magazines. And then finally, social, so Facebook, Insta, Twitter, and even TikTok. And as you can see, this is slightly more skewed to the younger demographics. TikTok especially, obviously more geared towards the 18 to 24-year-olds. And I think across all these different areas, it's interesting when you look at the age group breakdowns here. And within the report, we do have these age breakdowns across every question, as well as region, gender, and household makeup as well. And what are the key things we're looking for when we are searching and researching for potential pubs, bars, and restaurants? So food plays a key role here in terms of people want to understand what items are on the menu. We're also looking for reviews from other customers. So although we might not necessarily be going straight to review websites, we want to understand and see some kind of vindication or advocacy from other customers that it looks nice, but is it nice? We really sort of need that validation. One of the interesting things to me here is around food photos. So 1 in 3 people are looking for photos of their food. And clearly when people are on Instagram and TikTok as well, that it's a visual medium. But, quality photography of food, but also, photos of the venue, as you can see there, 27%. People want to kind of understand, get a vibe for the atmosphere, vibe for the food, the style, what can I expect when I go there? So clearly, as a result of the pandemic and certain rules and regulations that have come in force as we reopen, booking has become more prominent. 1 in 6 of us are actually more likely to be booking now versus pre-pandemic. A lot of that might be because we're being forced to book in certain situations. But, there's a bit of a balancing act in terms of booking, as you can see by some of these stats here. So 1 in 2 of us like to book so that they know that we can have available tables. But, a lot of people expect to book for food, but not necessarily for drinks. So again, that's something new for people to get their head around, but also for us to understand that not everyone wants to or expects to have to do that. And certainly, again, 1 in 4 say on busier days, I'd expect to book if I want to guarantee a table, but that suggests that, a lot of people would certainly expect to be able to walk up to a pub and be able to, have somewhere to sit down. So whether that's around communication with customers, that isn't going to always be the case, or for us to ensure that we certainly reserve a certain proportion of tables and space for walk-ins. So throughout the report, we kind of focus a lot on kind of key stress points during the different stages. So during that influence, evaluate, purchase stage of the consumer journey. And here's just examples of some of those stress points that we see during the evaluate stage. So the things that kind of frustrate people about the process. So 1 in 3, of us get frustrated when just trying to find somewhere to go. So doing that research bit, it can be a bit laborious, and it either puts us off doing it, or we end up just going back to the same places over and over again. 1 in 4 of us find it annoying trying to find somewhere everyone in our party agrees on. 1 in 3 of us, as we've just seen, get annoyed that we have to sort of be forced to book a table, or being forced to book a table. And interestingly, 1 in 3 of us get a bit annoyed about not knowing where we're going to be sitting before we arrive? You know, is there an option to be able to actually choose a table? So again, just a summary really of this section. To be aware of the routes to information and influence that match your target customers. So, i.e., is that TikTok? Is it Instagram? Is it Twitter? Is it review websites? Are we on Google Business? So when people search for near me, they find us. You know, look at those demographics and look at those routes that are most relevant to our target customer base. And then the key thing really is then we've got to invest the time, we've got to invest the effort, and we've got to invest some money into really maximizing our reach through those channels. People are using them to search for venues and to find out information about food menus. They want to see photos of the venue, they want to see photos of the food, they want to see reviews from other customers. How can we channel all those key touch points and influence points through these information sources? We eat with our eyes, so make sure we have that quality photography across all our digital channels, across all our across all our touch points with consumers. You know, really is key. Bookings are becoming more and more important, but it's got to be quick, it's got to be easy, it's got to be intuitive for customers to be able to do that. You know, in some cases, it's got to be that they can do it as they're walking up to the venue. You know, it's really got to be that kind of like seamless integration in terms of how people do that. But again, not everyone likes it and not everyone expects it. So if you are a booked venue only, you know, make sure that people were aware of that. But also, if you're not, you know, leave some space for walk-ins as well, because people, you know, spontaneity is a key element. And for a lot of these things, you know, technology is there to help us. It's there to enable us to create that sort of frictionless experience for customers, to enable us to improve that customer service and that ease. Because as we've seen, certainly around the influence stage as well, you know, as soon as decisions become a challenge or it becomes difficult for people to do something, it's very easy for them to give up. So I'll pass you back to Katy now, who will take you through the purchase and loyalty sections of the report.
Thank you very much, Blake. So the consumer has now found the venue, they're seated or they're stood at the bar, they're ordering drinks, they're ordering food. What influences their purchase decisions at this point? Well, first of all, we should look at what the key stress points are whilst in venue. These are the top 5 from a long list of frustrations that consumers had about being in pubs, bars and restaurants. The number 1 there is being forced to queue outside. Now, we know that the current restrictions means that is sometimes necessary, but we need to take away that pain point as much as we possibly can. We need to find an alternative, whether that's timed entry, whether that's having a socially distanced outside area that's covered so people aren't getting wet in the rain. Now, those things are very important to consumers, especially those of us that have been at home for years, or so it seems for years, and are dressed up to the nines to go out and then all of a sudden get caught in a rainstorm. 50% say that being told a dish has run out is incredibly important to them as a pain point. We just need to make sure we're informing them before they order that something isn't available. And then the other areas there, under attentive wait to staff or trying to get staff's attention when waiting to pay. This is all about understanding whether staff are trained well enough to understand when they're needed and when they're not. And then the final one there, being forced to order via an app. We have to remember that one size does not necessarily fit all, and that we actually have to provide both options for consumers where we can. So let's talk about the role of digital within food and drink menus, and it won't surprise you that there's a bit of a split audience here. Customers want to have the option of a physical or a digital menu. And it's not just a case of one type of person wants one type of menu. Actually, in some instances, it can be the same customer from one day to the next. For example, those with kids are more likely to prefer digital menus to physical menus. Maybe there's an entertainment factor, you get to sit them in front of the screen, which has always been a big favourite shut up tactic of mine. Or it's just the ease of being able to order as soon as you sit down. It's also no surprise that the younger generation, the more sort of tech natives, as we would call them, favour the use of digital here. But even the majority of the younger customers would like to see both options. So the whole point here is one size does not fit all. So the role of digital when ordering. COVID, as we know, has changed all of our lives over the last 12 months. We know that the technological advances that have happened within hospitality and retail and just every area of our life have been expedited because of the pandemic. And you can see there that 42% of people believe that the role of digital is more important. So the idea of ordering on a mobile phone and paying on your mobile phone is more important than it ever was. It would have been quite nice a year ago. It maybe would have been focused, mainly used by the younger demographic. And it started off as a necessity with the physical distancing that we've had to provide within our venues. It's now seen as a nice to have rather than a have to have. And it creates a frictionless environment for the customer to be in. And remember, the more pain points we can take out of the customer journey, the happier they are going to be within our venues. Choosing our food when dining in a pub, bar, restaurant is emotion-led. You can see there that the top 10 things that, top 10 factors that influence our choice of food when ordering, price comes out first. Price is always going to come out first because people want something that is within their budget and worth what they have paid for it. So price doesn't mean cheapest. It just means that price is suitable for the product I'm getting and the budget that I'm willing to spend. The opportunity here is for venues to describe their dishes and to speak about more than what's in the dish, to become a bit emotional, to evoke moods, to sort of look at what's the occasion this customer might be on, what are the words that they would like to hear me describe this particular dish as. It's about bringing that sense of experience and descriptions that aren't just about what's in the dish. What are we looking for on food menus? So you can see there that the number one item that, if flagged, would encourage a customer to order is if it was on special offer. Then we've got today or this week's special, which of course gives that feeling of, oh, it's something a bit different, it's something a bit special, or it's fresh, or something that I wouldn't normally get to order. Healthier option, that comes up high and has been coming up higher for the last couple of years. That's not going to go away. We do need to make sure that there are healthy options on menus. We need to also make sure that we're labeling locally sourced if something's new, bestseller. You can see there are all the different ways that we would like our food to be labeled in order for it to be more enticing to us. We are creatures of habit, so we do need to be inspired to break away from what we normally do. So if you want to encourage customers to stay longer, to buy another dish, or to change, to upsell them into perhaps a more expensive dish, these are the areas you need to be focusing on within your menus. So you've reached the end. You've had a lovely meal, you've had a couple of glasses of wine, you've had an aperitif, you've had a digestif. What next? It's time to pay. How likely are customers to want to do the following when paying their bill at a pub, bar, or restaurant when they reopen? And this is one of the questions that we asked to the 1,004 people that we spoke to as part of this Plan to Plate 2021 research. So they want to be able to see how much they're spending as they go, rather than wait to the till end when they receive their final bill. So, when you go around the supermarket these days and you can scan as you pick things up, something similar to that, but for hospitality. They want to be able to automatically split their bill with other guests. And obviously there are so many apps out there now that can do that. They want to pay via an app on your phone. And quite often that's because, I want to get going now. I've had my fun, I've enjoyed it. I'm either going to go on somewhere else where I need to get home or I need to get back to work. So paying via an app on your phone is incredibly important now, not just because of the social distancing need as well. So, checklist for purchase. Are staff trained to recognise when they're needed, and when to leave the customer and enjoy their experience? We need to introduce technology. It takes away the pain points for a customer experience. Tech for tech's sake is utterly pointless. We need to inspire the customer to try something different, something extra, using emotive phrases that appeal to the occasion that customer is on. Loyalty. The customer experience is not over when they leave the venue. Operators need to learn to complete that circle and understand what drives customers to leave reviews, to leave positive reviews, and to come back again and to recommend you to their friends and family. We're more than twice as likely to leave a review when we've had food than when we've visited for drinks. So there's some work there to be done with encouraging customers that are just coming for drinks to review us. Women are 14% more likely to leave a review than men, and the under 35s are twice as likely to leave reviews as those over 35. So what would make a customer more likely to leave a review? If you could do it on your smartphone at your own convenience, if you collected loyalty points, rewards for leaving reviews, and if you could do it at a smart time at the same time as you paid your bill, which is an incredibly efficient and effective way to get people to review you. 62% of people say they have left a review for a pub, bar, restaurant at least once. The prevalence of smartphone usage and now savviness is having an impact here, and 1 in 3 of all customers are more likely to leave a review if they can do it on their smartphone when it suits them. And that's as high as 44% in the 25 to 34-year-old age bracket. For 1 in 7, a loyalty scheme has a significant influence on the venue they choose. And this rises to as much as 1 in 5 for those aged 25 to 34. 86% would be interested in joining a loyalty scheme if offered. That is huge. Customers ultimately want to be rewarded for their loyalty in whatever form it takes. They have committed to using your brand and they need that commitment to be rewarded. So rewarding and incentivizing customer loyalty. We are creatures of habit. We are very, very used to getting our rewards on our supermarket reward cards. And that's what the majority of customers in hospitality want. They want to receive points for every pound they spend that can be converted into money or vouchers, 59% of them. A regular discount of purchase size comes in second, then followed by receiving exclusive promotions, which, by the way, is actually much higher when we look at visitors to high-end restaurants. That exclusivity is incredibly important to them. And then spending over a certain amount or receiving invites exclusive to your membership also come in those top 5 there. And of course, loyalty is not just about convincing people to come back to you. It's also about collecting data. And this is incredibly important and is only gaining importance as we move through this pandemic and as we move through the years. 78% of people told us that they are willing to share more personal information with pubs, bars and restaurant venues if they received more personalized communications. And that shoots up to 89% of 18 to 24-year-olds and still sits at 61% for 55-year-olds. It's incredibly important that when we are communicating with our customers, we are communicating things that are relevant and interesting to them. So the checklist for driving loyalty: drive loyalty and footfall with a loyalty scheme. Use that scheme to collect data on your customers, and then use that data to personalize your communications and create a better experience for your customers. So we've taken you so far between Blake and I from plan to plate, from the decision to go out all the way through all of the decision points up until and including the decision to return. And there you have it. Plan to Plate 2021. We'd like to thank Zonal for partnering with us on this research, and the full research report is now available at kam-media.co.uk/resources, along with a plethora of other pieces of research and insight. If you've got any questions, any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. hello@kam-media.co.uk. In the meantime, we wish you all the best of luck for reopening.